Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. So this one here, as you can tell by the title, is going over PSA raising their prices. Once again, I made a video a few months back when PSA raised prices and increased turnaround times. This time they are only increasing the turnaround time, so I guess that's somewhat good news, but let's just go ahead and look into some of this. So first off, PSA announced this as a $200 million infrastructure investment. So they come out and they're telling you, hey, we're doing all this investing. We are putting money into the brand to kind of really to try to help better it in the long term, right? So they try to come off positive. And then immediately after that, they are dropping, well, it's not immediately after it, but talking about, where they're going to put some money. We're going to add 1,000 new team members. That's great. People have been saying hire more graders. It'll decrease the turnaround time. I'll get into that in a second. But they just go through some of this stuff right here. PSA's demand has gone up. We all know that. It's probably grown, 10x in the past 5 years, 40% a year. So yeah, something like that. And then they drop this here, this graph right here. So this line right here shows when this says estimated turnaround time update. This was also the price hike increase as well. So we saw all these service levels increase their prices anywhere from $3. So bulk went from 22 to 25 to some of those, I think the regular level went from like 65 to 80 or something like that. They were kind of all in like that $3 to $10 to $15 price range increase. And we saw a drop off. The black line is submitted units, so that's cards submitted. We saw a drop off that month, and then it just went right back up. So clearly the increase in price and the longer delays in getting your cards back meant nothing to the people that are submitting their cards. So that's kind of a counter to a lot of people's points of, well, we're increasing turnaround times. I saw people saying, when are they going to announce price decrease? They can't announce price decrease. They increase the price of cards, which means it's less profitable to grade more cards, and it's still gone way up. So imagine if they cut prices. This chart would be, your turnaround times would then go to a year plus. But I'll get more into that stuff later. It's just a lot of people that don't think through it all the way. So they haven't yet announced the price hike or the turnaround time increase. They've got all this writing about their investment. And then towards the very bottom, they say service level updates. This was released on the 14th, so as of the day we're releasing it, these are our new current estimated completion range times. And these are in business days. Now, this is a pretty significant bump up. Value bulk is at 140 to 160 business days. There are, I believe it's roughly like 240 business days in a year. I usually go by 20 business days a month, right? So 20 times 12 is 240. So they're telling me that it's going to take 7 to 8 months for value bulk orders. Value orders 5 to 6 months. Skip over some of these. Regular is taking 2 months now. This is what used to take about a month is now going to take 2 months. It's pretty crazy to think about, but they have to do something. The demand is clearly there, and they are falling further and further behind. And I'd rather a company be upfront and tell me it's going to take us longer to get your cards back to you than keep the 95-day turnaround time, and I've got orders going over by 2 months just sitting in what, QA checks or something, and I'm complaining. And I do think it's a little crummy that they put it at the very bottom of the statement. They don't even mention it in the headline title, right? Obviously, it's not great. Nobody's happy that turnaround times are increased, but it would have been nice if we said PSA investing $200 million and turnaround times are increasing. What this means for you, I don't really care about any of this stuff, so let's see here. Oh man, this does not look good. I didn't see this. I didn't read through it all the way. Effective May 18th, we will be increasing the minimum threshold for new value bulk submissions to 50 cards. Well, I didn't see that, so that's even worse. I am not a fan of that at all. I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to weed out the people that, like me, I submit usually like 20 to 25 cards at a time at the value bulk level. So maybe now instead of getting 2 submissions at that service level out a month, I'll be able to get 1, which kind of stinks. But yeah, That's a little bit unfortunate, but that's okay. I mean, if it's going to take 8 months for the cards to turn around, what more is an extra 2 weeks, right? It just changes the type of cards I'm going to buy. Buy a lot of like Curry, LeBron, Mike Trout, Judge, Otani, cards like that, where when they come back in January or February, they're still going to have the value that I need to make a profit. So, not huge on that. Before I get into some of my comments for or responses to people comments, let's go take a look at some of the competitors to PSA. So, first one is Beckett, which is owned by Collectors, who owns PSA. So they're owned by the same parent company, but it is still its own separate entity and very different pricing. So, their base, which is kind of like value bulk, 75 plus business days. So they don't even tell you, hey, it's going to take 75 business days. They put the plus on there because if it takes 120, they could say, well, we said plus. But it's $15 a card. They do a $3 upcharge for any cards that get 10, so that's their gold labels, or if it gets a black label, which I'm completely fine with. I only expect 10 to 20% of the cards I send off at most to get a 10. So their value bulk level is $14.95 to $18. And you get to standard, which is $35 a card for 45 business days. If we go back over to PSA, 45 business days puts us in this value max, which I believe is $65 a card, if I'm not mistaken. And then their express is 15 business days, which is $80 a card, and regular is $80 a card, and that's 30 to 40 business days. So they are getting your cards back to you much quicker. But the price gap between BGS and PSA is pretty extreme. A few years ago, 9.5s and BGS used to be pretty equivalent to PSA 10s. Now there's a significant difference. So to me, Beckett's just not all the way there. I will submit Topps Now cards there just because they do have a decent black label success rate, and that's kind of what I would like to chase. But other than that, I would not want to use them. Now we go to Tag, and I'm not against Tag. I know that the resale value isn't there yet. I do think maybe in 5 years from now it could definitely grow once they get higher pop, more cards, and increase their capacity. But it's really hard for a company to carry a lot of value when I get that they don't want to be like PSA and have these huge turnaround times. But look at this. Capacity, currently at capacity. Capacity, currently at capacity. The only spot that I can submit cards right now, if I want to submit cards tonight or tomorrow or the next day, guaranteed, is at this express $60 a card level. And it's tough, right? Because I get what they're trying to do. They don't want to have a long turnaround time, but they aren't even allowing me to submit the card, so I can't use them, right? I get, they can notify me. I don't know how long that's going to take, but 45 plus business days, how many business days is it? Is it 45? Is it 90? If it's 90 and I have to wait to submit my cards, I might as well send them to PSA and wait, 50 more business days for a card that's going to have a bunch more value. And you can see over here that, look, like this doesn't even look good on Express. They have 15 crossed out. It's now up to 30 business days. So I don't even know if they've got these two service levels open, right? Because this says 30 business days. Why would I spend $20 more a card for the same exact service? Doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, Tag, they need to grow. They need to hire more people. And since it's all like this, it's not technically AI grading, it's image scanning grading. Since it's all image scanning grading, you just need to teach people how to use the software and the tools. They don't have to physically assess the cards. So they just need to expand their operations. I think give them a couple years, they might be serious competitors. Then we'll go over to CGC, 90 business days, $17 a card. They have no value on their cards, right? The value that they used to provide was quick turnaround times. Five months is not a quick turnaround time. It's quicker than PSA, but the price gap is just so huge. They need to be more at this 45 business days for bulk. And I get that economy is only $20 a card. It's just CGC is just not enticing to me. It's just hard hard to see value long term, especially when you've got tag. I think tag long term value is going to be there, but I do not see that with CGC. So I still think that PSA is the best option to go with. Now I will say that needing 50 cards to submit value bulk, that's going to be very tough and may lead some people over to these other companies, which I can't argue with. But we can also mention that I don't do this, but a lot of people grade through GameStop, and as far as I'm aware, there are not any changes to GameStop's grading, so you can still go and drop 5 cards off at GameStop to grade them at that level. So I don't really think that 50 cards is as big of a deal as to me. I just like to submit the cards myself so I don't trust taking in higher value cards to people working at GameStop. I get that there's likely very little risk there as opposed to shipping with USPS myself, but I just feel more comfortable with that, and I like to see my orders pop in my app and accept offers from PSA without ever having to touch the cards, and GameStop does not offer that yet. So, to address some people's comments, we'll use this graph for support. There's kind of 3 main comments I hear. The first one is, we need PSA to hire more people to close the gap. I agree with that. That's great, right? We want to hire more people. If they double the amount of people they have grading cards, they can move this dot up above the black line, and then they can shrink down the time it takes to turn around cards. The only problem with that is you hire more people, you get inexperienced graders. And everyone always loves to complain about PSA's grades. So you need to be careful what you wish for and hope that these 1,000 employees that they mentioned that they're going to be hiring are actually going to be trained properly and know how to grade cards, right? Because the last thing you want is to send off an order and you either get a grader that's too picky, or you get people complaining, how is that card a 10? How did that card get a 10? So that's my only problem with that. I do think that they will be able to grow at a rate that doesn't deter away from the quality of the grades they produce. I know that there's already people that complain about that, but people are going to complain about who's on top all the time no matter what. Second comment I saw, and this doesn't relate exactly to it, but it was someone that was complaining online about how PSA buys your cards back and then resells them for 3x the price. First off, PSA is not the one buying them, it is partner offers. Second off, you don't have to accept the offers. If you think that the offer is 3 times below what it can sell for, then don't accept the offer and sell it for that much yourself. There was the one instance where, and it hasn't popped up since, and millions of people or millions of cards are getting graded, so someone else would have seen it. There was the one instance of that person that got those 9s that then turned back into 10s, and I think that PSA's explanation was somewhat reasonable for that, personally. But do not accept PSA offers if it's 3 times below what the value of the card is. That is your fault if you are selling cards to PSA and then they resell it for 3 times more. They don't click the button for you, you do. So that is my thought on that. And then the last comment that I saw online that I wanted to address, I already mentioned it briefly, was someone mentioning with these increased turnaround times, when are we going to get to see prices decrease? Obviously, someone that's just upset that now I've got to wait even longer for the money I invested in these cards to be tied up. But I don't think they realize like how dumb of a comment that is. That's about the dumbest idea you could come up with. So let's use this graph. Like I mentioned, we increased prices right here on this line. We increased prices and turnaround times. Everyone was mad. Everyone said, I'm going to grade with someone else. PSA's grading dropped off. This is probably what PSA wanted. They probably wanted it to drop off and then kind of just, maintain steady across. They'd hire graders and they'd fill that gap and they'd keep the turnaround time under control. And then you can see the numbers for March and April just skyrocketed. I mean, this is almost as straight vertical as when this whole grading became a problem right in here when people were submitting so many more cards than were being graded. If we were to decrease the prices right now and or decrease the price right now because the turnaround times have already increased more. So the turnaround times increasing more may make this drop off again this month. But if we were to decrease prices, say everything was to go back to the way it was here, we would go straight up. That's got to be the worst idea of all time. The turnaround times are going to go from them saying 140 to 160 business days for this value bulk to over a year. And all the other turnaround times are probably going to double. So, like I've said, with the hiring of new people, the cost, and the turnaround times, be careful what you wish for. Because to me, the right thing to do right now would be, honestly, to increase the prices yet again. Now, I get they don't want to do that because everyone's already complaining about it, but how else, besides hiring a bunch of incompetent people, do you close this gap? As long as the black line is above the red line, turnaround times will keep going up. Because PSA isn't just going to magically get all the cards graded in their backlog graded. So what they need to do is get back to where they were right here, where the lines matched up. And honestly, for a little bit, they need to get to where they were in May of 2025, where they graded more cards than were submitted to them. And right now, they are not even close. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I know there's a lot of controversy in this video. A lot of people may disagree with some things I say. You may disagree with each other in the comment sections. Just please be respectful to each other. If you do have anything to say, you don't have to agree with what people say, but at least offer constructive criticism. Don't just bully people. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good one. 2K for life. Peace.